Hi, welcome to A Closer Look. I'm Donna Giroux, the Executive Director of CATV, and with me today is Joanne Ehrenhaus, who is the Community Relations Director over at Senior Solutions Vermont. Joanne, thanks for coming.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Donna. I'm really looking forward to talking to you today.
Good, because I thought this is the appropriate time to speak to you because, of course, May is older, we're not calling them seniors, we're calling them Older Americans Month.
Yeah, Older Americans Month, and we're delighted to be able to showcase a lot of things that, number one, seeing, the older population is still very active here in Vermont. And we'd like people to know about that as well.
I am officially turning into an older American this year. So I was impressed that on your website it talks about seniors that are 60 and older, not like 67 or 69.
No, really, that's because the Older Americans Act, which funds most of our programs, or at least almost half of them, have defined older Americans as 60 and over.
Good.
So those are the people we serve.
Okay, so I'm glad you said serve, because now what I'd like to do is tell our audience about some of the services that you provide. I know there are so many services that you provide. If you want to go through all of them, that's fine. But I am curious what's still going on and what kind of limitations or changes have you had to make?
Well, basically, we have made some adaptations. All of our services are still available, and everybody at Senior Solutions is still working. However, our environment that we work in has changed. As you can see, I'm at home, which many of us are. There are a few who are in the office every day, maintaining, the switchboard, the main phone. I believe our social services director is there for at least part of every day. And people can go in and out, but we're observing the state's requirement that to come into the building, we have to have taken our temperature, we should wear a mask, and take all the distancing precautions, etc.
Excellent. That's great, especially since the audience you're working with.
What's that?
Especially since the audience that you're working with is seniors, the more vulnerable population.
Exactly. They're the ones who have been designated as particularly vulnerable during this pandemic. So we're taking special care of how we serve them.
Good.
So like our case managers immediately began doing telephone check-ins with them because at first we couldn't do any home visits. It looks like we will be able to resume some home visits, but it'll be on a case-by-case basis, depending on, the situation. If the client, which is very important, if they feel too fragile or if they feel threatened by having someone come into the home, we'll do a virtual visit, and we're looking into getting some devices that will enable many of our clients who don't have any way to do things virtually. We're going to get them some devices and hopefully some training so that they're not as isolated as they are currently. And between now and then, we'll continue to use the phones and other methods. But we haven't dropped a stitch. In fact, if anything, we're more busy doing more types of services, which we're extremely proud of.
Bravo. And so for the viewer who doesn't really know, like when you say a home visit, what does that entail, or what kind of services are you providing?
Well, let me give you a list. First, I'll do that. We have a wide range of services because we are the Southeastern Vermont Council on Aging. So we have Windsor and Windham County to serve anyone over 60 or disabled. So these are people who, have a difficult time to start with. And many times they don't know how to access benefits. So right now we're trying to make sure, especially that anybody in our client range, make sure that they know what they're entitled to get right now. Because you have to understand, the people we work with are older. They are extremely proud and they're extremely private. And people who are not clients yet, but have questions, we have to practically beg them to take a benefit. They don't realize, many of them, that the Older Americans Act has funded benefits to people who retired many years ago. And I truly believe that the government understood or understands that people who retire, say 20 years ago, they may have retirement benefits, Social Security benefits, but those dollars don't buy what they used to. And to help people keep up, not really well, but a little better, on what food and fuel and medical costs, insurance and transportation, all of these things have, the cost has gone up so dramatically that if we didn't have these programs available, I don't know what older people would do in Vermont, especially the ones in our area who are restricted because of geography, being out in the rural area. It's really tough for them. So anyway, we have a range of benefits from we tell people about and help them sign up. To help people sign up, you can't just mail them an application. You know, if I'm 85 and I have macular degeneration and I finally realize I can call Senior Solutions and get some help, if they mail me an application, what is that going to do for me? Right?
Absolutely. So you assist. It's funny, I lived in France for years and you never filled out your own application. You were always assisted.
That's what we do.
They would ask you questions. They would, encourage, cajole, help you research to fill
And
out.
reassure them that this is not charity. This is something they really deserve, and they really should take it, because since it's Older Americans Act money, those benefits can't go to anyone else. If you don't use them, the money sits in the government's coffers, can't help that young family with 5 kids down the road. It can't go to other people. So we have case managers who are in charge of talking to them, doing intakes, making an appointment to, if they can come in, they could come in before COVID-19, going to their homes, preparing them ahead of time of what documents they need to provide, if any, sitting down with them and assessing their situation. If they called for, say, 3 squares, we like to also remind them that they could get fuel assistance, that we can help them with Medicaid applications, long-term and short-term, which means, some people, when you get older, sometimes you might have a stroke. May not kill you, but you're in the hospital and your doctor said, well, we could release you, but we can't send you home because you're not able to take a bath by yourself. You can't cook. You're semi-disabled now. So you can't do that. You need someone to help you. We'll have to send you to a nursing home. Well, because of Choices for Care, which is a long-term Medicaid option, he or she could write the script that you can go home, but you'll be on Choices for Care, which means you can have in-home caregiving.
And how is that? How is all that working now that we're social distancing? I mean, you can't actually go in and help them fill out a form. I guess you could do it over the phone. And a lot of areas of the state still don't have broadband, so there might not be internet accessible or even know how to use the internet properly.
That's why we're so busy, because we have to adapt to the circumstances. But what we also do is, besides, the Medicaid and Choices for Care, things like that, we also keep them in our database, and we do regular reassessments. So it gives us a chance to visit with them normally, and we will be able to do that again and see what their situation is. A lot of times people would call us and say, oh, I need fuel assistance. Case manager sets an appointment, sets them up, goes to see them, and realizes they need a lot more than that. And that's our opportunity. And now, through a project we're doing with the National Council on Aging, We have access to a whole wide range of benefits that we can help people. Doesn't just give them services and benefits, it also helps them retain and save money, which is so important. So we have a project going now with a lot of our clients. We're starting to call them. We're sending a letter. Then we'll be calling them and explaining to them, hey, I know you're on Medicaid and we know you're getting this, but did you ever think about taking this other benefit that will help you get more? In other words, a lot of times there's a criteria for the benefit. If you make X amount of dollars, you get Y amount of benefits. Well, there are ways to alter the amount of money that you have. You can spend it down if you have enough medical expenses. There's a whole lot of things that go into it, which nobody wants to hear me talk about now. But
No, it's interesting because, you know, it's an unusual time.
yeah,
So where they'd normally have a visit, they might not have the visit. So they might need some other sort of assistance, which of course costs more money. So the whole thing becomes sort of a tragic spiral for some people during this pandemic.
well, we
So
don't want it to be that, because right now, and actually the government's starting to help. Um, for example, anybody today who's 60 or over can sign up for Meals on Wheels.
oh, dinner. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, no, I mean, you can
But you
sign up for once a week or 5 times a week.
but you
Meals on Wheels has not been interrupted whatsoever.
Good.
In our area, they have not dropped a stitch. We've had fire departments, police departments, volunteers, VFWs. We ourselves at Senior Solutions got over 25 new volunteers for a program that we adapted to the COVID-19. Um, we had friendly visitors and vet-to-vet visitor program. Well, obviously, visitor programs are not going to, run full force because we have to stay at home and be isolated. However, they changed it from going to visit to going and picking up groceries and prescriptions and things like that, and dropping them off at their friend's house. So that, yes, they can't, pick them up and take them shopping, but they can do the shopping for them. They can pick up curbside service. They can do a number of things for them and stay connected and call them regularly so that they know that they still have a friend out there who cares about them.
Speaking of which, Joanne, the reason why I originally called you for this interview was you had put out a press release, which was a lovely idea. So would you tell us about that?
Yeah, and it's not really an original idea,
No,
but
but it's so
it
lovely.
occurred to me that, my gosh, first of all, lots of parents are at home with their children because there's no school. And I think, as a former parent, my kids are grown up. When you have kids at home, it's great fun. There's stuff you can do. But, there comes a time where you think, oh, what else can we do? What else can we do? And I'll tell you that, kids are just so empathetic. If they love writing, they love drawing pictures. You know how kids love to draw some kind of picture and give it to their aunt or their grandmother or their uncle or their whatever. And I thought, let's take that energy and that imaginative, creative impulse, and let's use it for something that's going to help somebody really, who really needs it. So I suggest, if you've got kids at home, or if you're a child at home, get some paper, use your imagination, magic markers, crayons, paint, whatever. Make a nice picture or write a little note. You don't have to make it, fancy or anything, but write a little poem, write a note, get a card, decorate the front, send a little note to someone who's older and maybe in a nursing home or is in the hospital. And that's a very lonely existence to start with. And now that we're in COVID-19, it's even worse because many places can't even have visitors. And I'm sure that most of us who are even home working feel a little bit of that isolation. If you're home from school, you're not out there seeing your friends every day. So you understand how it must be when you can't leave where you are and your relatives are in another state. Think about how somebody would feel if they wake up one day and the nurse brings in this beautiful little card that a child in your town has created just for them. I mean, it just warms your heart and it makes
Absolutely.
all the difference in the world to people.
And even if you don't know any elderly, let's say your
Yeah,
family that's distant, you could always just send it to a rehab center or a
exactly.
senior center, a retirement home. There's so many places that you could
Yes.
just open to any resident, right?
Yeah, and the staff will know who's in there that do not receive a lot of mail or don't receive visitors ever. They'll be able to direct it. I'll tell you, several years ago, we did a project taking the U.S. Capitol tree down to Washington, D.C. And stopping along the way, we visited 5 veteran facilities, nursing homes, hospitals, whatever. Before we left, we had our community put together, tallied up about 4,000 handwritten holiday cards. And when we went to these facilities, we took all kinds of stuff and the cards in. You have no idea the impact a simple card had on people. It was amazing. I mean, by the time we finished, we stopped at Walter Reed Hospital, and we had little things. I had a chocolate lollipop, a couple of things and some cards. And before we left, had a couple left over in my hand, and I saw a fellow wheeling around from the elevator to go to the front desk. So I thought I'd meet him over there. So I went over, and I'm about to hand him a card and stuff, right? And I said, "Oh, we're from Vermont. We're here." "Oh, yeah, I know. I saw you on TV. Thank you for coming." I said, "No." He says, "Thank you so much." And I'm like, "No, you don't understand. We're here to thank you." He very graciously took the card and the fact that he was thanking us practically broke my heart.
Oh, you know what? I thank you for all the services your organization does and all the volunteers that are helping our seniors. This is
Well, our
important.
volunteers the staff is amazing. The volunteers are phenomenal. Our volunteer coordinator is the most creative. She makes sure that everybody gets matched with someone who they'll be congenial with, supports them with programs and resources, and unbelievable. We have the senior companions, which we're not sure how that's headed yet. Friendly visitors and the veteran to veteran volunteer program, and the people that get connected, they really become good friends. And having a good friend is so important to good health.
It is. Absolutely. And speaking of which, so are you losing volunteers because a lot of your volunteers are seniors?
Well, we thought we were gonna have a problem with that, but no, we actually there were a few volunteers who were really well past 60 who thought it was prudent not to be a volunteer at that time. But so many of them stayed on to do the picking up of packages and dropping things off, and also to be phone volunteer visitors. And we got so many new ones who we put out a call and we got a tremendous response. We asked for people who are maybe just a little bit younger that are in good health and would like to help us out with making deliveries and things. And we're pretty sure at this point that once this whole pandemic passes, that the new volunteers are probably going to stick with us.
Good.
I mean, it's very gratifying to be a volunteer, and boy, we appreciate them so much. And we appreciate, what else we appreciate? The the veteran organizations who are they all would love to have the volunteer program in their area. We're just trying to catch up. There's a big demand out there, and we're spreading our services beyond where it used to be. We used to have a hard time getting up into the upper valley, but we have a regular office up in White River Junction now. We actually have a volunteer leader up in White River Junction, and we're trying to spread the network as far as we can without stretching it too thin, so we can progress so long as we have the people power to take care of the program.
So between the two counties, there's got to be what, 43, 48 communities?
Towns.
That's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
lot
yep.
of,
You're spot on.
am
Yes.
I? I don't know Wyndham very well. So, but you also have some collaboration with a couple of other states. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, you're thinking about our Echo D program.
Yes.
That's a project, and the D stands for dementia.
Oh,
So this is a tri-state. We're in a program together with Maine, New Hampshire, and Vermont. It was organized to be multi-state, and they wanted to have 3 communities or 3 organizational communities within each state. So there are 9 functioning partners, and we have substantive presentations like like what we're doing now, but we have a different topic each month. We've talked about, actually, even one topic was presented by Maine. Started out with, what do you do with people who have dementia but can drive? So we analyze cases, we strategize and brainstorm about how could we implement solutions within our own communities and states, and how do we educate people to be better able to interact with people with dementia in a real positive way that's good for both. How do you communicate with people with dementia? All these different aspects, like even the medical biological development of dementia, because there's like 66 different forms of dementia, including Alzheimer. And these are really how do you help the caregivers? What kind of tools can we give to the caregivers so that they have a better way of dealing with the person that they love and they're taking care of? And how do they take care of themselves?
so you, not just in your dementia coalition, but also as a general service, don't you do something like a caregiver support group?
Yeah,
Something like
we do. We do that on a case by case, but we also offer, what is it? I forget the name of it. It's like a caregiver toolbox. We have it was like a 6-session course for caregivers. And we also have the caregiver respite grants. So if you're taking care of, say, your dad, and he's a lot of work, obviously, or he wouldn't need a caregiver. You're starting to get tired, or you run out of things you think you can do for him, whatever. Before you get burnt out, give us a call, 802-885-2669. And we'll see if we can get you a caregiver respite grant so that we can pay to have somebody come into the home and take care of your dad while you go and recharge your battery.
so that's got to be hard during the pandemic, but that's a wonderful idea.
Yes. Truthfully, I have only scratched the surface of the types of services that we can provide. And if it's something that we can't go into the home to do, we'll figure it out.
I
We
think
will.
that I think that's what's
Okay.
interesting about your organization. It's an aggregate of so many resources,
Yes.
and it's so frustrating for people who have elderly parents who they might not be in the area. And so the idea of coming to one location and saying help, and then you have this whole army of people who can assist them. Is there anything else that you think is sort of top on your mind that we haven't? I know you have wonderful services and there's a lot, but is there something that you want to share?
Yeah, I want to share with you. You may already know, people out there may already know, but I find people can't tell me something enough times. So I'm going to tell you there's 2 things I want to let people know about: Meals on Wheels and 3 Squares Vermont. 3 Squares Vermont is, as you know, the SNAP program, where it used to be food stamps, but now it's 3 Squares. And as in a lot of benefit programs, it's very dependent on how much income you have, how much of the benefit you receive. Well, right now, because of COVID-19, if you are currently a Three Squares recipient, you will be automatically receiving the full amount, regardless of what level your income is. So if you are already on the program, you should be getting an increase, unless you started out at the top. So if, you know what I'm saying, if you started out and say you were getting $50 a month, okay, and the top is 150, you will be getting 150 now. I believe they sent out, I don't know if it was, I shouldn't say because I don't have it in front of me. You'll get that automatically. And then I think there'll be another 2-month catch up after that. So you don't have to apply for it. You're already a recipient. You will be getting the full benefit amount. And I think that's very important because you've watched the news and you know that the price of food is going up.
Yeah.
So this will help. You know, it's never quite enough, but at least it's moving in the right direction. So I want people to be aware of that. If they see an extra bump up in their, you know, if they get automatic deposits, they'll see a little extra bump up there. That's why. Because now you're getting full benefit. And Meals on Wheels, I think I already told you that if you're 60 years old, you could sign up. You don't have to, you know, be, you know, confined to bed. You don't have, there's nothing, there's no income requirement. There is no health situation requirement. You just have to be 60 or older. And I think that's important.
That's great because that's one less thing they'd have to worry about because there's plenty to worry about. So knowing that you're getting fed, I think that helps with general health.
Yeah, it's just one meal a day, but let's face it, it's one less that you have to make. It is. It's a good thing. And it can be a lifesaver.
Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you everyone for participating in another episode of A Closer Look. If you want to host an episode or possibly be a guest, please feel free to contact us at info@catv8.org. And for anyone who is watching cable television, specifically Comcast, they have changed our channel designations. We are no longer 8 and 10. We are now Channel 8 has turned into 1085 and Channel 10 has turned into 1075. So we hope to see you healthy soon. Bye-bye, everyone. And thank you, Joanne.
Thank you, Donna. It's been a great pleasure to be with you.